So today I'm going to show you guys how to make a cheesecake pecan pie style. This is what I'm going to go for instead of making a pecan pie. This is all keto friendly, and I'm going to show you how to do this in my pressure cooker. I do not own an Instant Pot like everybody else in the world, but I do own a pressure cooker XL. We bought this many years ago, actually before the whole big craze. And so since I already had one, I was not about to buy another one. So I do want to make mention that I am using the Instant Pot cheesecake pan today, or springform pan I should say. It does have the release and everything. It's the perfect size to go inside of my pressure cooker. I don't know if mine actually has some sort of gadget made for it. It probably does, but these are in the store right now. I actually bought these at Walmart, this one at Walmart, and I think it was around $11.99. So this was a really good deal. My pressure cooker did not come with a setup where you can like raise stuff at the bottom of the pan, so I actually have this that I bought a while ago too. This is just a steaming tray, or a steaming basket. You can put this in a hot pot on your stove, or I have used this in my pressure cooker as well. So I just place this in the bottom with a little bit of water, and this right on top. Just to mimic like a water bath that you would do in an oven. Now, this recipe, you could use a small version of a small springform pan and put it in a water bath and put it in the oven if you don't have one of these gadgets. So that's all pretty interchangeable there. It will just take a little bit more time, like an hour to cook in the oven versus the 20 minutes it's gonna take in the pressure cooker. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. This is my own recipe. I have borrowed different things, different ideas from many other recipes and kind of mixed them all up, and this is kind of where I've landed. So I do have some background noise today. I've got 2 children home with me. That should be fun to get through. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna work on today is the crust. This recipe I did borrow from Nicole Burgess. She's on here on YouTube. She's also on Instagram. I definitely suggest looking her up. She has great meal prep recipes. So we're going to use 2 cups of almond flour. This is the Kirkland brand. 1/3 of a cup of coconut oil. This is also the Kirkland brand. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is the Aldi brand. This is pure vanilla extract. I love this, and it is super cheap. I think it's like around $4 at Aldi's, which is cheaper than even Walmart. I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon measuring, so I'm gonna do 2 of these. And then just to add a little bit of sweetness to the actual crust, this does vary from Nicole's recipe here, because I think she only used 1 tablespoon. So I'm gonna use 1 tablespoon of this Swerve Gold, like brown sugar replacement. Okay, so we have 1 tablespoon there. And then I'm also going to use allulose. This is a sweetener that you can use. It is a great sweetener. It's just super expensive. However, if you have an issue with the erythritol, the aftertaste of the erythritol, or how it feels on your stomach, this is a really great option. They even advertise it right there. It says clean taste. So I really love this one. It's just expensive, and I try not to use it in all of my recipes, or I try to cut down the erythritol with this. So I'm going to use 2 of these. That was more like 1.5. This part, the sugar or the sweetener replacement part, is really up to your taste and your liking. So you might have to play around with that to figure out what you like the best. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this all mixed in. as best as we can. It's going to be a crumbly mixture. You should be able to, you know, pick it up, not in a ball or anything like that. It's just going to be crumbly so that you can press it into the pan. That gold, the Swerve Gold, it does not like to mix well, so you do have to kind of work that around, or else it might be a little clumpy. But it does a great job at mimicking brown sugar if you need that for your baking. So as you can see, as I've mixed it around some here, it has like a almost like a wet texture, but it's still very, you know, it's crumbly and loose. So that's exactly what you want to see. So what we're going to do now is spray down our pan to make sure that nothing sticks. And we're going to press that into the bottom and all into the sides to give it a nice good crust. All right, so it does have a pretty thick base, and I liked that when I made this the first time. I did like the size of it, so it wasn't an issue for me. But there's plenty here that you can, you know, push it up along the sides to give it more of a traditional style looking one. The first time I made it, I just made it a flat layer, but I'm definitely going to try to push it up on the sides a little bit. So it looks more like a normal, you know, a regular cheesecake. We will not be baking this first either. So you'll notice that, you know, with a lot of keto desserts, you don't always have to, because this is really just, it's just nuts. This is just almonds. So it's not like flour that has to be cooked. Or anything, or browned or anything like that. So you will notice that a lot of keto desserts don't always require you to cook the base like that if you don't want to. I know several pie crusts are like that too. All right, so just work it in, you know, to whatever your desired size is. Like I said, if you wanted to keep it flat at the bottom. Just going to try something a little bit different. We'll see how this pulls away later. This might backfire altogether. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to get some tin foil around the bottom of this because I want that to be ready to go when I pour in my mixture, so I'm not trying to finagle that around. And then I'm going to come back and get the filling going. Okay guys, so I have this all wrapped up and ready to go. As you can see, I've got the almond flour crust pressed in. The tin foil is fully protecting the bottom to make sure no water is getting inside. And now we're going to start the filling. So to start with, now again, this is my own recipe. This part I just looked up different cheesecake recipes, a whole bunch of different ones, and I just kind of did the best I could to make this into a good version for the size that we're doing here, as well as trying to convert some of the measurements for the sweeteners, etc. So the first thing you're going to need is 2 blocks of softened cream cheese. This is definitely not a light calorie dessert, that's for sure.
I'll help you.
You're back to help me?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be using our hand mixer as well. Don't touch that, honey. Or you can use, if you have a stand mixer, or you can just use a good old-fashioned whisk with your hand, especially if the cream cheese is softened enough. Then you shouldn't have any issues going through that. So 2 blocks of cream cheese. To that we're going to add a 1/4 cup of sour cream. That sour cream really gives it the right amount of tang. It adds to the creaminess and texture of the cream cheese. We're gonna go ahead and blend that in real quick. Okay, next thing we're going to do is add in our sweetener, and I'm doing this step right now because I want to taste it first and make sure I'm not over sweetening or under sweetening. The allulose is a different animal, so you know, as with any of the sweeteners, you want to make sure that you're doing it to your taste or to your liking. So I'm going to start with a 1/2 cup, and you can go all the way up to a cup of granular sugar. This one is powdered, so it might not even require a full cup. You can use the granular swerve, the monk fruits. I would probably use the Lakanto monk fruit if I didn't have this here. So let's give that a mix and a taste, and we'll see where we're at. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add in the other 1/2 cup of sweetener. Yes, honey. We're going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a couple shakes of salt. Give this another blend, and we'll give it another try before we add in those eggs. Okay, I personally think it needs just a little bit more. As I make a mess. So we went with a 1.5 cups of sweetener. We're going to add in 1 teaspoon of coconut flour. Coconut flour is going to bring that together a little bit. If you've ever worked with coconut flour, it's very absorbent. So a little will really go a long way. Okay. Scrape down the sides, make sure it's all very well blended, especially now that that coconut flour is in there. You don't want any clumps. If you are using just regular granular sweetener like Lakanto or Swerve, just do the 1 cup. It'll probably be just fine. Now I'm going to add in the 2 eggs. Alright guys, so we are ready to transfer our mixture into our pie, our crust I should say. It looks so smooth and creamy. I cannot wait for this to set up and cook. This isn't like a full, we're not going to fill this all the way up to the top, you'll see, because we have to leave room for our yummy pecan pie topping. And if you really like the filling of the pecan pie, which is my favorite of course, that's really what is going right on top. Okay, looks amazing. So as you can see, it's very jiggly, loose. Of course, we haven't cooked it. I've got my Instant Pot here. I'm sorry, I keep calling it an Instant Pot, but it's really not. It's a pressure cooker XL. That's what it looks like, the front. I don't know if they have made other versions of this, but this is the one that we have. I already have my steamer basket in the bottom. We're going to add, okay, we have a cup of water that we're going to add into the bottom. Perfect. I didn't want there to be water just sitting like right there, but that's perfect. It's still below the basket. We're going to add in our cheesecake very carefully. This is where I know our pressure cookers differ, because I think the Instant Pot has like a whole lift and carry thing set up, which would be way easier in this. We're gonna get our lid going, lock it, and you want the valve release closed, so you don't want the pressure to come out until we're ready to take the cheesecake out. So we're gonna turn it on. All right. So we're going to turn it on, and then our options are different as far as pressure cookers and the Instant Pot. So for the pressure cooker XL, I'm going to choose chicken meat. Oh, let me actually turn it on. Chicken meat. And then we're going to adjust the time to 40 minutes. And then we're going to let that go. So it beeped, it's already recognizing that it's getting ready to start building all the pressure in the pressure cooker. So now that we're all done, we have everything going, we're gonna let the pressure cooker build and do its thing. We're gonna let this cook, and I'm going to shortly show you how to make the topping. I don't necessarily am not going to start my topping until the cheesecake is done, because I do want to give it a minute to kind of chill out on the counter and start setting before we just throw on hot caramelized pecans on top. So we're gonna let this cook, and we will be right back to show you how to get started on the toppings. Okay, so the cheesecake has come out of the pressure cooker. It's definitely a little fluffy right now, and it will, as it cools, it'll shrink down just a little bit in the size, so that way we can fill the top with our topping. And now I'm going to go over how to make the pecan pie portion of this cheesecake. Here on the counter I have xanthan gum. This is going to be our thickener for the pecan pie topping. Yakin syrup is going to be a replacement for molasses. If you cannot get your hands on yakin syrup, don't even bother buying it. Just use the molasses. It's a very small amount. It's just a quarter of a teaspoon. I've got a cup of pecans. I'm using half of that cup chopped in my mixture, and then the other half whole on top. I have a mixture of the gold swerve and then the allulose sweetener, a little bit of salt, and heavy cream. All right, so I've already got my butter going on a medium, just slightly over medium heat, so I'm getting that melted. You're going to want to work with a skillet, not so much a saucepan for this, and you're going to need to stir often. I'm using a whisk here that's silicone coated, so that it doesn't scratch the bottom of my saucepan either, or my skillet here. So to the butter, we're going to add in our heavy whipping cream. And again, stir often. To that, we're going to add in our sweetener. We're going to work that in for a little bit. When you add in the xanthan gum, once it's added into like a liquid, it really starts to thicken up quickly, especially heat. It just kind of makes it bloom almost like yeast. It just makes it get going a lot faster once it's hit the heat. As you can see, it's starting to get a little bit brown, and we're going to continue to reduce it and let it get nice and caramelized. The yakin syrup, we're only going to use 1/4 teaspoon. Like I said, you could also use the molasses. It does have a lot of carbs in molasses, but the 1/4 teaspoon is not really that much to really do a lot of damage. It's just for the flavor. And then to this, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of the xanthan gum. I'm getting a lot of bubbling here, as you can see, so I'm going to reduce the heat just a little bit. We don't want to burn it. And keep stirring. And what we're going to be looking for now that the xanthan gum is in there is going to work in. It's going to get bubbly, and you're going to see it's going to start to pull together and pull away from the sides of the pan as you're stirring it. Once that starts to happen, we're going to add in our pecans. Keep a close eye on it while you're making it. If it looks like it's going to burn, pull it away from the heat a little bit. Okay, can you guys see how thick it is now? It's at a really good consistency. And now we're going to go ahead and add in the pecans. Get them all nice and coated, mixed in, and the next step is just to add it to the top of the cheesecake. All right. As you can see, the cheesecake is slightly pulling away from the side as it sets, and it's going to set in the fridge and get more firm. You definitely have to give cheesecake time. Alright, so we're going to evenly spread this out. It smells so good in here, and it tastes really good. It's very sweet. It tastes just like pumpkin or pecan pie filling. And then for the last part, I'm just going to add in the whole or the halved pecans instead of the chopped ones. I mean, you can make it fancy if you want to. You don't really have to. Is let this sit in the fridge. I'm probably going to let this sit in there overnight. I'm going to cover it first. And tomorrow morning I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to take it out of the springform part. I'll show you what it looks like, and then the whole thing is going to go in the freezer until Thanksgiving. Most keto desserts freeze really well, and cheesecake is no different. So I'm just going to stick it away and have it ready to go for Thanksgiving dinner. Okay guys, so I have now let the cheesecake set in the fridge overnight for at least 24 hours now. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to take it out of the springform pan, cut a piece, and then I'm going to bring it up to room temperature. just a little bit because it's really, really cold in my fridge, and it's pretty hard right now. So then I'm gonna wrap it all up and store it away in my freezer until next week for Thanksgiving. Look at it, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So let's see what it looks like if I release it from the pan. It's actually a bit stuck around the sides up here where the topping is. So I'm going to run my butter knife under some hot water and run it along the edge here to try to get it to release. So, like I said, I used the hot water with my knife, ran it along the sides, and then it popped open and released. So, let's go ahead and take this part off. It should come out just as easy as that. Wow, guys, look at it. It's so beautiful. Oh, the crust on the side came out so good. I only wish it didn't quite stick so much. Don't look at my dirty stove. All right, let me cut a piece of this and get this wrapped away. Okay, so apparently I am a terrible cake cutter or pie cutter. But look how pretty this is. It came out so good. Now to give it a taste. So this really should come up to room temperature, but I don't want to wait because the topping, you know, it gets hard. It gets more solidified in the fridge when it's cold. So when it gets to room temperature, it's not quite so hard. This is so good. Oh my gosh. This is so worth it. I know it's a lot of work to wait for a cheesecake to get done, coming together and setting and everything, but this is so good, you guys. It's a must try. You have to try this, really. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to having more of this on Thanksgiving. So anyways, I hope you guys will give this a try. Take a look at the recipe. The only issue I had was with the sweetener, and I would say in the recipe I'm going to put, if you're going to use granular, to just use the 1 cup. But if you like this video, please go ahead and like it, subscribe, and let your friends know about this. This is definitely one that you could bring to a party, and it's really not going to, they're not going to know the difference. This is going to be an awesome crowd pleaser. Enjoy your guys' Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great day.